தீபாவளி கலெக்ஷனும் கோடி, மகிழ்ச்சியும் கோடி. The Chennai Silks. Let the celebrations begin.
தன்பாலின திருமணத்திற்கு சட்ட அங்கீகாரம் கோரிய வழக்கில் 4 விதமான தீர்ப்புகளை வழங்க இருக்கின்றார்கள். 5 நீதிபதிகள் கொண்ட அரசியல் சாசன அமர்வில் இந்த தீர்ப்பு வாசிக்கப்படுகிறது. தலைமை நீதிபதி சந்திரசூட் தலைமையில் 5 நீதிபதிகள் கொண்ட அமர்வில் தீர்ப்பு வாசிக்கப்பட இருக்கிறது. நீதிமன்றத்தால் ஒரு சட்டத்தை உருவாக்க முடியாது என்றும் கூறப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. தன்பாலின விவகாரத்தில் உச்சநீதிமன்றம் தலையிடக்கூடாது என்று மத்திய அரசு தனது கருத்தை கூறியிருந்ததாகவும் நீதிமன்றம் கூறியிருக்கிறது. 200 ஆண்டுகளுக்கு முன்பு முன்னோர்களால் ஏற்க முடியாத சில விஷயங்கள் இன்று ஏற்கப்பட்டிருக்கின்றன என்றும் நீதிபதிகள் கூறியிருக்கிறார்கள். தன்பாலின திருமணங்களை அங்கீகரிக்க ஆதரவு தெரிவிக்க வேண்டும் என்று கோரி உச்சநீதிமன்றத்தில் தன்பாலின திருமணங்களை ஆதரிப்போர் மனு தாக்கல் செய்திருந்தார்கள். அதில் தற்பொழுது தீர்ப்பு வாசிக்கப்பட்டு வருகிறது.
Same-sex couples. The court would either strike down Section 4 of the SMA or follow the workability model submitted by the petitioners. If the court follows the first approach, the purpose of a progressive legislation such as the SMA would be lost. The SMA was enacted to enable persons of different religions and castes to marry. If the SMA is held void for excluding same-sex couples, it would take India back to the pre-independence era, where two persons of different religions and castes were unable to celebrate love in the form of marriage. Such a judicial verdict would not only have the effect of taking the nation back to the era when it was clothed in social inequality and religious intolerance, would also push the courts to choose between eradicating one form of discrimination and prejudice at the cost of permitting another. If this court takes the second approach and reads words into the provisions of the SMA and provisions of other allied laws such as the Indian Succession Act and Hindu Succession Act, it would in effect be entering into the realm of the legislature. The submissions of the petitioners indicate that this court would be required to extensively read words into numerous provisions of the Special Marriage Act and other allied laws. The court is not equipped to undertake an exercise of such wide amplitude because of its institutional limitations. This court would in effect be redrafting the laws in the garb of reading words into the provisions. It is straight law that judicial legislation is impermissible. The functions of the courts usually first determine whether if the law is unconstitutional and then proceed to decide on the relief. However, in this case, an exercise to determine whether the SMA is unconstitutional because of under-inclusiveness would be futile because of the limitations of this court's power to grant a remedy. Whether a change should be brought into the legislative regime of the SMA is for Parliament to determine. Parliament has access to varied sources of information and represents in itself a diversity of viewpoints in the polity. The court, in the exercise of the power of judicial review, humanity, but taken alone they paint an incomplete picture. In addition to these qualities, our ability to feel love and affection for one another makes us human. We may not be unique in our ability to feel the emotion of love, but it is certainly a fundamental feature of our humanity. We have an innate need to see and to be seen, to have our identity, emotions, and needs fully acknowledged, recognized, and accepted. The ability to feel emotions such as grief, happiness, anger, and affection, and the need to share them with others makes us who we are. As human beings, we seek companionship, and most of us value abiding relationships with other human beings in different forms and capacities. These relationships may take many forms: the natal family, cousins and relatives, friends, romantic partnerships, mentors or students. Of these, the natal family as well as the family created with one's life partner form the fundamental groups of society. The need and ability to be a part of a family forms a core component of our humanity. These relationships, which nourish the emotional and spiritual aspects of our humanity, are important in and of themselves. Further, they are as important to self-development as the intellectual and eventually financial nourishment we receive through education. Self-development cannot be measured solely in terms of educational qualifications and financial capabilities. Such a description is to forget what makes us human. It is insufficient if persons have the ability and freedom to form relationships unregulated by the state. For the full enjoyment of such relationships, it is necessary that the state accord recognition to such relationships. Thus, the right to enter into a union includes the right to associate with a partner of one's choice, according recognition to the association, and ensuring that there is no denial of access to basic goods or services, which is crucial to achieve the goal of self-development. On the other hand, the state could indirectly infringe upon the freedom when it does not create sufficient space to exercise that freedom. A formal associational status or recognition of the association is necessary for the free and unrestricted exercise of the freedom to form intimate associations. Needless to say, there may be reasonable restrictions on this right. However, other than legally valid and binding restrictions, the right to intimate associations must be unrestricted. The state, by not endorsing a form of relationship, encourages certain preferences over others.
Deepavali collection கோடி மகிழ்ச்சியும் கோடி. The Chennai Silks. Let the celebrations begin.